Picture a bag that a cobbler picks up, turns over, and says he cannot find anything wrong with it. Then picture paying $60 for it. That is not a hypothetical. That is what happens when a woman stops shopping the brand name and starts shopping the construction underneath it. 5 brands the handbag industry has spent zero effort making visible, because visible means comparable, and comparable means the brands spending their budget on campaigns rather than leather have a serious problem on their hands. The list starts with the brand hiding in the most obvious place possible. Number 5. Fossil is the brand that every serious handbag community eventually discovers, and nobody talks about loudly enough to disturb the status quo. The name sits in the same retail aisle as brands charging twice the price for a fraction of the construction integrity. And it sits there quietly. No campaign, no cultural moment, no influencer unboxing generating 6 figures of earned media. Just a pebbled leather crossbody with solid brass hardware that a woman bought 3 years ago and has not needed to replace. The leather across the core Fossil bag range is a top-grain genuine leather, not full-grain, which we will reach higher on this list, but top-grain leather that retains enough of the hide's natural character to develop a genuine surface evolution over time, rather than the peeling and cracking that bonded leather and corrected grain alternatives produce at the same price points. That surface evolution matters more than most handbag conversations acknowledge. A bag that looks better at 3 years than it did at 3 months is a bag that rewards ownership rather than punishing it. Most bags at this price point punish it. The punishment arrives at different speeds depending on the construction. Bonded leather begins peeling at the flex points within months. Corrected grain leather begins losing its artificial surface uniformity within a year as the coating separates from the hide underneath it. Top grain leather does neither of those things. It softens at the contact points where the hand grips the handle daily. It deepens slightly in color where light and friction meet the surface regularly. It communicates, over time, that it was worth buying. The punishment arrives at different speeds depending on the construction. Bonded leather begins peeling at the flex points within months. Corrected grain leather begins losing its artificial surface uniformity within a year as the coating separates from the hide underneath it. Top grain leather does neither of those things. It softens at the contact points. It deepens slightly in color where light and friction meet the surface regularly. It communicates, over time, that it was worth buying. The hardware is where Fossil separates most clearly from every comparable brand in the same aisle. Solid brass and solid steel components sourced to a standard that reflects the brand's primary business. Fossil built its reputation on watches, on the engineering precision required to produce a mechanical movement housed in a case that maintains integrity across years of daily wear and environmental exposure. A brand whose primary technical identity is built around hardware quality does not reduce that standard when producing hardware for a secondary product category. The result is a zipper that has been opened and closed daily for 2 years and behaves identically to the day the bag arrived. A magnetic closure that holds under the pressure of contents shifting without popping open mid-commute. D-rings and strap attachments that have not developed the lateral wobble that zinc alloy hardware develops within a season of regular use. The interior construction reflects the same functional discipline that the exterior hardware does. Multiple card slots built into the lining rather than retrofitted as an afterthought. A key clip positioned at the interior opening rather than at the base of the bag, where the key must be excavated through the full contents to be reached. A zip interior pocket with a pull tab, sized for actual fingers rather than for a product photograph. These are not luxury features. They are design decisions that reflect whether the people building the bag ever actually used a bag. At $60 to $130 for core leather pieces, Fossil is producing a bag that the accessible luxury market charges $180 to $250 to approximate. The approximation frequently uses lighter hardware, thinner leather, and a construction standard. The Fossil bag at $60 outperforms on every metric that determines longevity. The shopper who walks past the Fossil rack to reach for the bag, with the more recognizable name, is not making a quality decision. She is making a marketing decision. And the marketing budget she is funding with that choice is the reason the better bag has been sitting unnoticed beside it for years. The next brand costs less than Fossil for several of its core pieces and makes a construction argument that most handbag discussions have never thought to examine, because the material the bag is made from has been dismissed by the industry's quality hierarchy before the bag is even picked up. Number 4. Longchamp Le Pliage. The Le Pliage is made of nylon. Put that down for a moment and consider what the construction actually delivers, because the nylon dismissal is the reason this bag has been available at this price for this long without generating the attention its longevity record deserves. The coated nylon canvas that Longchamp uses in the Le Pliage is not the nylon in a gym bag or a reusable grocery tote. It is a specific coated construction with water resistance and surface durability that has allowed owners to machine, wash the bag without damage. Use it in conditions that would destroy a leather bag of comparable price and carry it daily for 10, 15, and in documented cases, 20 years without the structural failure that ends the useful life of every bag ranked below this one. 20 years of daily carry. At $100 to $145, that is a cost per wear calculation that no leather bag at twice the price on the accessible market can match, and most handbag conversations never run the arithmetic because nylon was dismissed before the numbers were ever checked. The genuine leather trim, the saddle-stitched leather handles, and the solid metal hardware address the construction vulnerability that nylon alone cannot solve. The highest stress attachment points, where the handle meets the bag body and where the entire loaded weight concentrates on every carry, are reinforced by the leather and stitching construction, rather than relying on the nylon canvas to manage a load it was never designed to carry alone. That combination, nylon canvas for the body and genuine leather reinforcement at every stress point, is a more intelligent construction decision than using a single material throughout and hoping it handles every requirement equally well. Most bags at this price point hope. The Le Pliage was engineered. The founding context matters here, and most discussions of the brand skip it entirely. Longchamp was founded in Paris in 1948 as a leather goods manufacturer. The Le Pliage was introduced in 1993, not as a budget alternative to leather bags, but as a technical solution to a specific problem. How do you produce a bag that folds flat for travel, weighs almost nothing, withstands wet European city conditions, and maintains structural integrity across daily use without requiring the care that leather demands? The answer was coated nylon canvas, combined with genuine leather reinforcement at every structural stress point. The answer has not needed revision in 30 years. The founding context matters here, and most discussions of the brand skip it entirely. Longchamp was founded in Paris in 1948 as a leather goods manufacturer. The Le Pliage was introduced in 1993, not as a budget alternative to leather bags, but as a technical solution to a specific problem. How do you produce a bag that folds flat for travel, weighs almost nothing, withstands wet European city conditions, and maintains structural integrity across daily use without requiring the care that leather demands? The answer was coated nylon canvas combined with genuine leather reinforcement at every structural stress point. The answer was the Le Pliage. The fact that it also costs $100 is a consequence of the engineering decision rather than a compromise of it. The size decision matters more here than for almost any other bag on this list. The small Le Pliage is a genuine everyday carry replacement for the minimalist. Phone, wallet, keys, and a folded lightweight jacket. At that load, it holds its shape, carries comfortably, and lasts. The medium is the most versatile size in the range, and the one that the multi-decade durability testimonials most consistently reference. Large enough for a workday without a laptop, small enough to remain proportional when lightly loaded. The large and extra large need enough contents to maintain their shape. An underfilled large Le Pliage collapses in ways the smaller sizes do not, because the nylon canvas requires internal volume to hold the silhouette the design assumes will be present. Buying the wrong size is the most consistent source of Le Pliage disappointment in the owner community. Not a construction failure, a size mismatch between what the bag was designed to carry and what the buyer actually needed to carry. Check the handle attachment stitching on any large or extra large before purchasing. 10 seconds. It is the difference between a Le Pliage that performs for 20 years and one that develops handle stress within the first 2. If you have made it this far into this list and you are genuinely rethinking how you evaluate a bag before purchasing it, this channel is where that conversation happens every single week. We go this deep into construction, materials, and honest value comparisons across every category of women's fashion, with no brand sponsorships and no gifted products influencing the conclusion. Subscribe now so you never miss a breakdown, because the next video covers the shoe brands doing exactly what the worst bags on this list do, charging for a name while cutting corners on the construction underneath it. Number 3. Vera Bradley Leather Collection. Most people stop reading after Vera Bradley. The Quilted Cotton Association is so strong that the leather collection sitting beside it on the same shelf has been consistently invisible to the shopper who categorized the brand before she arrived at the rack. That categorization is costing her. The Vera Bradley Leather Collection uses a pebbled, full-grain leather with a body weight and surface character that the brand's quilted cotton identity has never prepared anyone to expect. Full-grain leather, at a brand most people associate with cheerful cotton prints sold at airport gift shops. The hardware specification across the leather range is considerably above what the cotton line uses and considerably above what most comparable brands at this price point use as their standard. Solid components rather than lightweight alloy. A closure system engineered for functional security rather than visual security. The internal organization reflects the brand's accumulated understanding of how its actual customer uses a bag across a real working day. Multiple exterior pockets sized for specific items rather than generic open compartments. A rear zip that provides access to the most frequently needed item without opening the main compartment. An interior layout with enough division to function as a wallet replacement, rather than requiring a separate organizer insert that adds weight and reduces capacity. The stitching at the handle attachment uses a box and cross reinforcement pattern. That reinforcement is worth pausing on, specifically because most shoppers never examine this detail at the point of purchase and then wonder why the handle fails before the leather does. The handle attachment is where the full loaded weight of the bag transfers to the carrying structure on every single use. A bar tack attachment concentrates that stress at a small number of thread passes across a narrow band of material. A box and cross reinforcement distributes it across a wider stitched area with multiple directional thread passes that resist failure from different load angles simultaneously. One is cheaper to produce. One is correct for a bag that will be used daily for years. Vera Bradley's Leather Collection uses the correct one at a price point where most brands use the cheaper one without disclosing the difference. That reinforcement distributes the stress of the bag's loaded weight across a wider area of the upper material than a standard bar tack attachment does. It is the single most important stitching detail in any bag construction, because the handle attachment is where the cumulative stress of years of daily carry concentrates most aggressively. Most brands at this price point use the cheaper attachment. Vera Bradley's leather collection uses the correct one. The colorway range across the leather collection reflects a design awareness that most accessible brands do not bring to their seasonal planning. The palette is specifically calibrated to work with a wider range of skin tones than the safe commercial neutrals and primary colors that drive display appeal without consistently delivering wearability for the actual customer carrying the bag through a real day. Rich cognac tones that deepen with the leather's natural aging process. Deep navy and forest shades that maintain their depth rather than fading to a washed-out version of themselves after a season of UV exposure. Clean black with gold hardware that communicates a sophistication the brand's quilted cotton identity has never once suggested was available here at this price point. At $55 to $110, this is the most overlooked, genuine leather value in the accessible American handbag market. Not the most overlooked at this price point, the most overlooked in the entire accessible market, including brands charging 2 and 3 times more. It is overlooked specifically because the brand name communicates something so different from what the leather collection actually contains that most shoppers have never thought to look. The next brand has no such identity confusion working against it. It has a different problem entirely. It has been so focused on building the product that it forgot to build the audience, and the audience has not found it yet in the numbers the product deserves. Number 2. Brahmin has been producing American leather goods since 1982. Most people who have been buying handbags for 20 years have never heard the name. That invisibility is the entire explanation for why the construction quality available at this brand's price point exists without having been corrected upward by the market forces that typically close gaps between value and price. The Melbourne collection uses a full-grain leather with a croc embossing that goes into the hide rather than sitting on top of it as a surface coating. The distinction determines longevity. A surface-applied embossed texture wears flat at the highest contact points within a single season of daily use as the coating compresses under friction. An embossing that goes into the leather maintains its definition through years of use because it is part of the material's structure rather than a finish applied over it. The structured base holds the bag's shape independently. No fully packed requirement to maintain the silhouette. A bag that can be carried half empty without collapsing inward is a bag that was built around a structural standard rather than around the assumption that the contents would compensate for the absence of one. The lining quality matches the exterior leather standard throughout. No cheaper interior material introduced once the visible exterior has been built to an impressive level. The entire bag, inside and out, was built to the same standard. That internal consistency is rarer at any price point than it should be. The saddle stitch technique used throughout the Brahmin range distributes thread stress across 2 needles simultaneously, making each seam structurally stronger than single needle machine stitching at the same junction. That difference does not appear in a product photograph. It appears in how the bag holds up at the handle attachment points and the strap junctions after 2 years of daily carry. After 5 years, after 10. The color range across the Melbourne collection reflects a design intelligence that most accessible brands do not bring to seasonal planning. Deep jewel tones that deepen further with the patina development of full-grain leather over time. Neutral grounds that warm or cool in response to how the leather ages, rather than remaining static the way corrected grain finishes do. The exotic embossed leathers, croc, snake, and lizard patterns applied to full-grain hides are available at price points that the exotic leather market typically reserves for brands charging 2 to 3 times more. The founding story behind Brahmin is worth understanding because it explains why the product exists at this price without the cultural moment that would have already corrected the price upward. The brand was founded in Boston by Joan and Douglas Krakoff, named after the Brahmin social class historically associated with Boston's educated and cultured upper tier. The naming was not accidental. It was a deliberate statement about the standard the brand intended to build toward. And the product record across 4 decades of continuous production suggests the statement was not marketing language. It was a brief. At $170 to $320 for core collection pieces, Brahmin is the strongest construction argument in the American accessible handbag market below the luxury tier. The brand's relative invisibility in the contemporary handbag conversation is the most reliable explanation for why it is still available at prices that a comparable material and construction standard from a more marketed brand would not be offered at. The moment Brahmin gets the cultural moment its product deserves, the price adjusts accordingly. It has not happened yet, which means the window to buy at the honest production price rather than at the brand premium price is still open. If this list has shown you something real about how handbag value actually works, hit the like button right now because it helps this video reach the women who are still overpaying by a factor of 3 for a bag that a $60 fossil is outbuilding on every metric that matters past the first month of carry. One brand remains. It earns the top position not through heritage, not through construction alone, and not through the cultural authority that most handbag conversations use as a substitute for examining what is actually inside the bag. It earns it by doing something no other brand on this list has done. It published the numbers. Number 1. Quince earns the top position through an argument so structurally simple that the handbag industry's refusal to engage with it is itself the most convincing evidence that the argument is correct. The gap between what a leather bag costs to produce and what the retail market charges for it is not a quality gap. It is a markup gap. Wholesale margins, retail margins, brand premium, advertising spend, influencer partnerships. The premium attached to a name that the marketing budget made aspirationally valuable, rather than a material specification that the factory made structurally superior. None of those costs produce better leather. And Quince removed all of them. The Italian leather tote, the structured crossbody, and the leather shoulder bag in the Quince range use full-grain leather sourced from Italian tanneries that supply brands charging 4 and 5 times more for bags produced in the same facilities to the same material specification. The brand publishes its factory relationships. Most brands decline to do this specifically because the publication invites the direct comparison that the brand premium exists to prevent. Quince publishes it because the comparison favors the disclosure. The hardware uses solid brass rather than zinc alloy. The lining matches the exterior leather standard rather than introducing a cheaper interior material once the visible exterior has already been built impressively. The stitching density and thread weight at the seam junctions has been placed by the independent reviewer community above several brands charging twice the price for construction evidence that the Quince examination consistently outperforms. The transparency extends beyond the factory relationships into the material specifications published on each product page. Leather grade, tannery origin, hardware composition, lining material, all of it disclosed in the same format that allows a direct comparison against any competing product using objective measures rather than brand language. That disclosure architecture is not generosity, it is confidence. A brand that publishes every material specification has compared every material specification against its competitors and confirmed the comparison favors the disclosure. Quince has confirmed that comparison repeatedly in its product development process. The published data is the evidence rather than the claim. At $80 to $160 for core leather pieces, Quince is producing a bag that the conventional retail market would price at $250 to $400 if the brand had spent the production savings on the campaign rather than on the leather. The campaign would have made the brand more visible. It would not have made the leather better. 3 practical checks before purchasing any Quince bag. First, the leather smell. Full-grain Italian leather has a specific rich character that synthetic leather and chrome-tanned alternatives do not produce. If the bag does not smell like leather, it is not performing to the material specification the brand publishes. Second, the edge finishing. Run a fingernail lightly along every exposed leather edge. A properly finished edge is smooth, sealed, and does not catch or peel under light nail pressure. An unfinished edge exposes raw leather fiber that absorbs moisture and begins fraying from the cut surface within weeks of regular use. Third, the stitching tension. Hold the bag under direct light at the handle attachment, the strap attachment, and the zipper border. Even tension across every stitch means consistent stress distribution and structural integrity under daily load. Uneven tension means early failure at the stitch points, where daily carry concentrates its pressure most aggressively. Quince's construction passes all 3 checks consistently across the pieces examined for this video. The 3 checks exist not because the brand requires them. They exist because the buyer who applies them to any bag at any price point is the buyer who makes a different decision in the store than the buyer who reads the front label and reaches for the credit card. 5 brands, 1 pattern running through all of them. The construction budget went into the leather, the hardware, and the stitching, rather than into the campaign that was supposed to make the bag feel worth buying before the buyer touched it. Fossil built its hardware standard around watches and transferred it into bags. Longchamp engineered a nylon construction that has outlasted leather bags at twice the price across 20 documented years of real-world carry. Vera Bradley built a full-grain leather collection under a name so associated with quilted cotton that the leather has been sitting unnoticed at one of the strongest value propositions in the accessible market. Brahmin has been producing full-grain, saddle-stitched, structurally honest leather goods since 1982 without a cultural moment, without a brand premium, and without the price adjustment that cultural moments and brand premiums produce. Quince published the factory relationships, removed the markup layers, and let the comparison speak for itself. The test is the same for all 5. Turn the bag over, feel the leather weight, smell the interior, run the zipper twice, check the stitching tension at the handle attachment. 90 seconds. That is the entire distance between a decision based on the brand name and a decision based on what the bag is actually made of. This channel follows the money, not the marketing. Click the next video on the left right now. We are breaking down the exact same comparison for women's shoes and the brands hiding genuine construction quality behind overlooked names in that category are even harder to spot than anything on this list.